Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining First Google Hangout titled All About the Benjamins, the Financial Aid Process. I'm Chelsea Jones. I'm the Student Support Associate Director of Student Programs here at First, and we have a really amazing hangout scheduled for today. We are going to chat about the financial aid process. As you know, January is the major time when students are completing their FAFSA and learning about the CSS form and all of these other different things that go along with the financial aid process. Just because you completed your college applications does not mean the process is over. So we are here to give you all of the ins and outs of the financial aid process and really give you a ton of information and tips that you can use to make this process less stressful. So we have some really awesome panelists that are going to be chatting with us today, and they're going to be giving you guys all of the information that you'll need. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Alex, you can introduce yourself, and then we can turn it over to Khalil.
Hi everyone, my name's Alexandra Rice. I'm here with you from NerdScholar out in San Francisco. We are a financial aid website, and we help students through financial aid process and other things along the way in college. So yeah, I'm excited to chat with you all today.
And hi everyone, my name is Khalil Johnson. I am a sophomore at Pitzer College, one of the Claremont colleges all over in California. And my majors are environmental policy, English, and a minor in Spanish.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for the intros. So just so you know, we do have a live Q&A portion on the Hangout. So what that means is, as you're watching the Hangout, and if Alex says something or if Khalil says something that strikes you, or you have a question for one of us, you can type your correct questions into the Hangout as you're watching, and we'll receive those questions. And we have a few minutes toward the end where we'll be answering any of your questions. So don't be shy. Feel free to submit anything you want. No question is a dumb question. That's a real thing. There's no such thing as dumb questions when it comes to the financial aid process, because it's so daunting and there's so much that you need to learn. So we are going to get started. So we're going to do something a little bit differently this time. We're actually going to start with Khalil. I'd love, Khalil, if you just chat a little bit about your experiences completing the financial aid process as a high school student, as a first-gen high school student, and what that looked like for you, and sort of how you learned about the financial aid process, how you got through it, who helped you. So take it away.
Yeah, so high school 12th grader. I think it was maybe November when I found out that I had to fill out things like the FAFSA and other things as well. Regarding the financial aid process. I overheard a friend talking about it. I got a scholarship to go to a prestigious school in the tri-state in the tri-state region of Delaware, Philly, and New Jersey. And they were like, hey, I filled out my FAFSA and it took forever, and my parents had to get their tax information and things like that. So then I was like, oh, what's this FAFSA thing? So I go to my college advisor, and I'm talking to her, and she's like, yeah, you got to fill out the FAFSA. It's a long process. You should probably get on that. And I'm like, whoa, you could have told me this earlier. Now you seem like you're rushing me. So then I go home and I'm like, hey mom, you gotta fill out this FAFSA. So she's like, okay, I'll get right on that. She's excited because I'm applying to college. So she's looking into the FAFSA. She's like, first of all, where do I even find it? I'm like, my college counselor told me it was online. So she goes online and she looks at it. She understands none of it. So she immediately calls my college counselor, and she's like, hey, I don't understand any of this. I need some help. So she books an appointment, and she comes in, and she talks to them for maybe 3 hours, just, going through everything. And then she had to go back home and get her taxes done. So she didn't even get the chance to finish it. So it was extremely long, extremely complicated, extremely daunting. Process, the financial aid process, and then I had to apply for financial aid when I got into Pitzer College. So I had to apply for a bunch of things and send in a bunch of information that I didn't even get a chance to send them, or didn't know that I had to send them. And when I got to school, like after I was admitted and I flew there my first day of school, I get there and I'm walking through the campus, and I stop at the financial aid office. Just because I had a feeling that maybe something was due, and I remember I had gotten an email a couple of weeks ago that I responded to, and I get a response back. So then I go in and I'm like, hi, my name's Khalil Johnson. I show my big smile, and I'm like, do I have anything due? So then they tell me, yeah, you have like this, that, and the third due. So then I immediately have to fax things to my mom, have her sign them, have her fax them back to me. Throw them in the face of the people behind the desk, and I'm like, I got it, I got it. So it's even scary when you get to college, but I'll answer that question later.
Okay, awesome, Khalil. So what we are going to do, we're actually going to turn it back to Alex. I'm going to ask her a couple questions. So Alex, Khalil talked a little bit about his experience of, completing the financial aid forms and all of these different things and sort of hurdles that he had to go through. But I just want to start off with the basic question. What exactly is financial aid?
Yeah, of course. So financial aid, as Khalil suggested, are these two little words that cause students a lot of stress. But it is, at its core, it's the money that is going to help you pay for college. And financial aid kind of means two different things. It means money that you don't have to pay back, which comes in the form of grants and scholarships. Grants such as the Pell Grant you might have heard before. And then scholarships either from your school, from the state, from outside organizations, all over the place. And then the other part of financial aid is student loans, which you do have to pay back. So while they can help you pay for school, it's really important to keep in mind that you will have to pay those back once you graduate, or even if you, for whatever reason don't graduate, you'll still have to pay back your loans. So while they could be a good resource, you definitely want to make sure you understand everything you're doing when you take out a student loan. But yeah, financial aid, it's money to help you get through school and help you get that degree.
Awesome, thanks, Alex. So we know that, financial aid, now we know that financial aid is the money that helps you get to school. So I know students are probably saying, okay, what does that have to do with FAFSA? What is this thing? Because that's one big thing that students are hearing about. They're seeing it. People are telling them to go get their pen. They're probably freaking out, like, what is a pen? What are these different things that I need? So if you could explain that a little bit more, that'd be awesome.
Definitely. So FAFSA is an application you submit to the federal government to get all this great money that we're talking about. So FAFSA stands for free application for federal student aid. Keep that first word in mind. It's free. You never want to pay to have to fill anything out. So what you do is you go to the government website, you get your PIN, and then you fill out the FAFSA. You can take anywhere from like 30 minutes to a couple hours. It sort of depends on the student's circumstance about how kind of complicated things can get. You heard from Khalil that it took him kind of a while to get all the forms, but the more work you do up front to kind of prepare to fill out your FAFSA, the better off you are.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question for you, Alex, will be: do students have to complete the FAFSA if they're going to college? Is it something that they have to do, or is it optional?
We definitely don't have to do it. A lot of students choose not to do it. But we highly, highly encourage everyone, no matter what your circumstances, to do it. Because if you do want money from the government, which who doesn't want free money, you have to fill it out. It's not an option. So it kind of depends on your motivation. Do you want money or not? If you don't want it, go ahead, walk away, throw your hands in the air, no big deal. But if you want that money, hands down, you have to fill out the form. So.
Awesome, and I think most students want money for college, especially nowadays, because college is so expensive. So it's definitely recommended that students fill out the FAFSA form. So I actually want to take it back to you, Khalil. I know in your conversation you talked a little bit about sort of the last minute preparation that you received when it came to completing your financial aid forms. And I know you mentioned that you and your mom sort of had a bunch of back and forth and trying to figure out what was needed and when it needed to be submitted by. Was there one person, if it were at your school or your high school, was there one person that sort of made the process a little bit easier for you, or was it just an all-out sort of madhouse when completing the process?
Yeah, once my advisor had the meeting with my mom was always on it. Like, she was on it like water and rice. So she went and had the 3-hour session. And then after that, my counselor and her had a conversation, and my mom expressed to her that like, this is our first time doing anything like this. He's the first person in his, in our family going to college, going to school. So my advisor kind of looked at her a little bit differently, looked at our situation a little differently. So when it came to college, she gave us, I don't know how many waivers. I applied to 20 schools. She gave us waivers for all of them. And specifically for the financial aid process, she was able to check in with me, constantly call my mom, and talk to her over the phone for hours and hours. I'd say that besides my mom, my college advisor was the biggest help in getting through that entire process. But that's not a universal story
Okay,
though.
awesome. Thanks, Khalil. Yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
true. Yeah, that's true. That's not a universal story. Everyone's sort of support systems are a little bit different. Sometimes you'll just have your parent to rely on. Sometimes you'll have a teacher or a counselor or a mentor that you can depend on, and sometimes you won't have anyone. But regardless, that's sort of why we're here, to give you all the information that you need, just in case you don't have, anyone to let you know the ins and out of financial aid. That's what we're doing. So we're your helpers. So let's switch it back to Alex. When is the best time for a student to start completing their financial aid?
Yeah, great question. Well, the form opens on January 1st, so it just opened. And the sooner you fill it out, the better. And the reason for that is there's only a certain amount of money that's kind of given out. So it's first come, first serve. So you want to be the first person in that line to make sure you get that slice of the pie. And if you need help, there's all sorts of resources out there. We'll talk a little bit more about those throughout the conversation. But bottom line is you really want to do it as soon as you can. And there's different deadlines that can be pretty tricky. There's state deadlines, federal deadlines, school deadlines. So you want to try and figure those out. You can talk to your counselor, look online, whatever you have to do. But if you want to be as safe as possible and make sure you get your money, just start now, right now.
Absolutely. And can a student complete the FAFSA on their own?
Yeah, so you're going to need information from your parents, mainly around taxes. So if you're an independent student, you can complete it on your own, but that's not a very common case. Most students are what's considered dependent, meaning they are supported financially by their parents or a foster parent or some other type of guardian. So you're probably going to need your parents' help. You're probably going to want your parents' help because, like we've talked about, it can be a little bit tricky. But you can do most of it on your own, and then they can kind of come in where you need them.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move right along, and this is a big question and sort of several parts to it. So if a student is undocumented or has a dependent or lives, in foster care or any sort of other type of extenuating circumstance, how will they go about completing the financial aid process? Because their situations are a little bit different than your traditional students.
Yeah, sure. I mean, everyone's living situation is a little bit unique, right? And it gets even more complicated if you're not living with just your mom and your dad. So here at NerdScholar, we created a guide. If you search NerdScholar FAFSA guide, just right in Google, you'll find it. And you can put in your unique situations, such as being undocumented, such as, one of your parents passed away, anything like that, and we'll walk you through step by step how to fill out the form. But for undocumented students, you still should probably fill it out. Kind of one of the biggest things is you don't have a social security number. A lot of people recommend putting in a string of 9 zeros instead of a number. But the best thing to do is really, if you have a situation that is a little bit outside the box, you probably want to go seek out someone in person, like your high school counselor. You can also call up a college, even if you don't know where you're going yet. You can call up any college, and financial aid advisors are really great. They want to help you. So, get them on the phone, explain what's going on, tell them how much you want to fill out this form and what your situation is, and they'll walk you through it.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. All right, so we are actually going to jump back to Khalil. So, Khalil, we've been talking a little bit about sort of all of the ins and outs of FAFSA. When do you have to complete it? If you can do it on your own, the different types of things that you'll need. How is it for you juggling school senior, worrying about what colleges and universities you'll get into, and then also trying to figure out this whole financial aid process? How did you sort of keep yourself organized throughout the process? And do you have any tips and advice for students and how they could do that?
Yeah. So it was extremely stressful. My senior year might have been the most stressful year in my entire life. My entire life. I'm only 20, but my life so far. It's I was juggling. I think I had an internship with the Obama campaign. I was in two AP classes. I was the president of two groups at my school. One is still very successful, I'm proud to say. And I had a social life, or didn't have one that year, but I was trying to have one still. I had things going on at home. And then I had the FAFSA. It's like, an entire course. But it was really stressful for me to deal with because of everything going on. So I guess it's funny that you're asking me this question because I feel like I'm not an organized person. But I think for me, something that really helped me was having my mom specifically deal with the FAFSA and nothing else. And it was helping her in any way that she needed me to help her with that. But I also just I was very proactive, so I was active in going to see the counselor and like talking to her and asking her any questions so I can relay that message to my mom. So I think having if I feel bad because not everyone has the situation, but if you have a really good counselor, or if you have a counselor that'll answer any questions that you have, or at least find out the answers to them, going to them every day and asking them whatever questions that you have is going to be extremely helpful. And I had a couple instances where I called a college, or we had college visits, and I would pick their brain asking questions. And they'd always say, apply now, fill out the FAFSA now, and you'll get as much money as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Khalil. All right, so we're doing a lot of back and forth, but we want to keep it engaging and get sort of both sides of the coin here. So we're gonna head back to you, Alex. So, what are some of the really important documents, or all of the really important documents that students will need in order to complete the FAFSA?
Yeah, so there's a handful of so of forms, kind of depending on your personal situation, what you'll need. The first one is something that you brought up earlier, Chelsea, about your PIN. So your PIN is basically a 4-digit number you get from requesting one on the federal government's website. And it's kind of like your password, and you also use it to sign electronically when you finish the FAFSA. So you'll need that first, and you want to go ahead and get that. Even if you're not sure you're going to fill out the form or whatever, just go get a PIN, because if you don't have it, it'll hold you up. So you need that. You also need your social security number. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you need your alien registration number. Like Khalil's been talking about, there's lots of tax stuff going on, so you need your income tax returns and your W-2s. And there's also, I should note here, this really cool tool called the IRS Data Retrieval Tool. If your parents have already filled out your taxes, or if you're an independent student, you can go use the IRS Data Retrieval Tool. It's actually built right into the FAFSA. It'll save you tons of time and a headache too. So go ahead and use that. But if you don't, go get those tax returns. And yeah, that should about do it. But you can look up everything you'll need online too. Google's a great resource.
Awesome. Google has all of the answers. So What can a student do if their parent or their guardian is hesitant about providing them with their tax information or doesn't want to give up that information at all?
Yeah, so that's a tough situation. You know, like Khalil said, his mom was really supportive and was really helping him out, and we hope that's the case for everyone out there, that their parents will help them secure this money for college. But if you do find yourself in a place where your parents are feeling a little weird about giving away tax return money, the best thing you can do is just sit down and talk to them honestly and let them know like why you want this money, like how are these tax returns going to help you get money to pay for college? How is that going to change your life? You know, like really just kind of give them some perspective. Let them know that nothing bad is going to happen from putting this information out there. You know, all that's going to happen is your kid is going to get to go to college and maybe have it paid for. Like, how cool is that? So just let them know. Yeah, just be honest with them.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff, Alex. I know a lot of times parents are hesitant, worried because they don't want sort of their salary information or how much they make to be out there. They're not sure who's going to be able to see that. But like Alex said, if you can really sit down and be really honest with your parent or your guardian about why you need this information, assure them that it's not going to be, put on like Tumblr or anything where everybody in the world can see it, but it's going to be secure and it's only for the purposes of you receiving money for school. I think that might make the process a little bit easier. Awesome. All right, so we are going to move it right along. So another big part of the financial aid process. What exactly is an EFC? Because I know a lot of students are going to be hearing about that or have already heard about EFC, and how does that play into how much the student will get for college?
Sure, yeah, the EFC, that's a little bit of a tricky one. It stands for Expected Family Contribution. So it's sort of just what it sounds like. It's essentially a formula that helps the government and the school understand how much your family can provide to pay for your schooling. So based on your unique financial situation, they use this formula to come up with how much you can be held accountable for in terms of paying for school. So it's not like they're going to send you a dollar amount or anything, but it will kind of show how much financial aid you can receive in the end. So it takes into account things such as your family's income, assets, different benefits such as like Social Security, and all of that is taken into account in the formula to help generate how much financial aid you'll receive on the back end. So you can use this cool tool called the FAFSA Forecaster. It's a federal government tool. If you just Google that, you can figure out what your EFC is just by putting some info in there. So that's not actually filling out the FAFSA, it's just giving you kind of an estimate of your EFC. But then the school, once you do fill everything out, the school will use your EFC to determine your eligibility and then your financial aid award package. So it's not necessarily a number you need to worry about too much because you're going to see how much aid you get later on from the school, but just understand that the EFC is what the school is using to determine how much money you get later down the road.
Great. Khalil, I don't know if you remember what your EFC was or sort of your reaction to your EFC, but was that something that was a stressful part of your process? I know for me, when I got my EFC, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was money I didn't think, well, I know I didn't have, so I freaked out. It was like $1,000. I'm like, I don't have $1,000. I can't go to college. But that ended up not being the case. But when you got your EFC or when you saw your EFC, what was sort of your reaction to that?
Um, it probably was what it was when I heard you say it just now, which was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about, and I still kind of don't know what you're talking about, to be honest with you. But like, if I can remember, I don't think it was a lot either. I don't think it was a lot either. Um, so yeah, like we freaked out when we got our EFC back, or when we got the EFC back as well. So yeah, I can you just run it down to me one more time? Just what it is? Just one more. I'm sorry.
Alex, go for it.
Yeah, sure. So EFC again is expected family contribution. So how much you're expected to put up to pay for college, which is basically the remainder of the price tag of going to college when all financial aid is taken into account. Um, so hopefully you'll have your student aid award package will come back and they'll say, oh, you don't have to pay anything, but it's possible that your EFC account, called for you to pay some amount of money. So like Chelsea said, she was kind of expected to put up about $1,000, but that's not always the case. Like you might end up still getting another award after that, or something might kind of step in, but basically, your EFC is like the formula they're using to determine your financial aid.
I
So,
got you. I got you.
yeah.
Okay, so like, so now I remember what it was. Look at me, guys. I'm like, I'm still confused about it, and I'm 2 years into
No
school.
worries.
But but okay. So I think for Pitzer, I think it was $2,500. The initial EFC when I first got in, and they sent me the financial aid package and everything. And then I think a week after, I got a Pritzker scholarship from an anonymous source, and then they took care of that. So I remember the $2,500 thing, um, and it was I would have had to taken out a loan to pay for that because I didn't have it out of pocket. But oh my God, just a side note, I remember getting like from all the schools getting all these loans and and I freaking out because they would head up to like $10,000 or $5,000 and like I am very hesitant when it comes to like owing people things, especially banks that can charge interest. So but anyway, so yeah, I got the EFC back and they covered it eventually though.
Awesome. Yeah, that was the same thing. I was in the same situation. So just to sort of remind students, when you do get your EFC, don't freak out because that's not necessarily the amount that you and your family are going to have to come out of pocket, especially if you have other scholarships and other financial aid to sort of cover that. So don't let the EFC stress you out more than it should. Um, so before we get into another question um, about financial aid, I actually want to go back to Khalil, and you just said something that made me think of this question. So you're 2 years into college, but you still have to fill out the financial aid form every January. So sort of what is that process like for you now that you're 2 years into college? Is it still as difficult as it was when you were high school senior, or have you gone through different obstacles or learned new things about the process now that you're in college?
I nothing will be as bad as my senior year. Not knowing anything to do, not knowing what FAFSA was, things like that. And I think I even had to. There was some kind of government documentation that I had to turn in, and I had to pay money to turn that in. Um, that was just a side note, and that was new to me. You have to pay money for everything. God darn it. But I know that last January, um, uh, I thought that when I got the scholarship and FAFSA gave me the FAFSA provided knowledge to the government about how much I needed, and I got that money, that I'd be set, like I'd be fine. I didn't need to fill out anything else. That the money that I would get every year would follow throughout the next 4 years of my college career, undergrad career. But no, that is not the case. In January last year, I was rudely awakened, and I had to fill out the entire thing again. But it was easier. It was easier, and my mom, she kind of knew what to do. And she had to fill it out for me because I still had no idea. But she walked me through it, and it's simpler now than it was back then by far. And we're coming up on that time again, and I'm like, now that I know, I'm like, Mom, when you get your taxes, when you're getting your taxes done, because you can wait until like February to get them done, but you need to fill that FAFSA out immediately. So I'm on about the taxes. I'm like turbo tax, turbo tax, turbo tax. Get it done so we can fill out the FAFSA and things like that. So it's it was complicated last year. I had no idea what to do. When I got the email from my financial aid, like, you haven't filled out your FAFSA yet. I thought I wasn't going to be able to come back just to school, and it got to that point. So I had to hop on stuff. So this year, I'm definitely more prompt and on time, and I'm trying to get this stuff figured out now as we speak. I have a FAFSA tab up right next to the Google Hangout.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's one thing a lot of students don't think about, especially high school students. They're just in the moment. Hey, I need to do this to get into college, and then I'm good to go. Not realizing that it's something that you have to do every single year to ensure that you are getting money for college. So it doesn't end once you're done as a high school senior. It keeps going and going and going and going for 4 years for all of your undergraduate time. So, but don't get discouraged. As Khalil said, and I'm sure Alex can attest to this as well, it gets easier. Not saying that it isn't difficult, but every time you do it, it gets a little bit easier because you sort of know the process. So don't get discouraged, but you're going to have to keep doing it. So that's definitely one thing to keep in your mind. You got to keep doing the FAFSA and renewing it every single year. Awesome. So we are going to jump back to some more questions for Alex. So do some schools require other forms for financial aid besides the FAFSA? And are the deadlines different? Because I know that's one thing that students sort of freak out about too, are all of the different forms that may have to be filled out, and also all of the different deadlines. So if you could chat a little bit about that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just add real quick, once you've filled out the FAFSA the first time, you can auto-populate a lot of that information the next year, 2 years, 3 years, however many years you're filling it out. So as long as your family situation, income-wise and such, hasn't changed, you can automatically fill out a lot of that information and then just read over it and check it and be good and submit it. But to answer your question about other forms, I think one of you mentioned the CSS profile earlier, and that's something a couple hundred schools around the country use to give out some financial aid. So you should check and see if the schools you're applying to or the school you've already chosen requires that. Most don't require it. A lot encourage it. But some do require it. So you want to just check on that. That's the CSS profile. That's through Blackboard. And other than that, some schools do have their own financial aid forms, mostly because they provide school scholarships that maybe aren't covered under the FAFSA. So there are some other things. Get in touch with your financial aid office again. Just double check that you've kind of turned in everything you need to, and that's a great place to check on deadlines too, because unfortunately they are kind of all over the place. So you want to work on your organizational skills, looking at you, Khalil. Make sure you stay on top of things. And yeah, it kind of stinks that there's so many different deadlines, but financial aid season is right now, so most of the deadlines are going to be kind of coming up. So if you just get on top of them now, you'll be good to go. But if you are kind of late to the game, there is time still. It's not like it's closing anytime soon. Usually have through June to kind of fill it out. Super late through September, but like I said earlier, the sooner you fill it out, chances of getting more money. So if you want everything you can get, just go ahead and get to it now and double check with your financial aid office, or even look on their website, on the school's website, and they'll help you figure out if there's any other forms to fill out.
Awesome. That was great information, Alex. Thanks for that. So Khalil, I know you have to head out in a bit, so I want to get to this last question for you. Now that you're 2 years into college, you've done this financial aid process a few times. Do you have maybe one or two tips or pieces of advice that you'd like to share with students that are completing their financial aid forms now?
Definitely. Number one advice: be best friends with your financial aid office. Go by, take them coffee, take them gift baskets, take them candy, you just need to make sure that you have a really good relationship with them. I think that is the most important advice that I could give you. Just be really, Be really cool with everyone in the office. Be nice, be kind, even if they're having bad days and like they're being short with you. I have gotten away with a lot of things just because I am a first year, so I don't know some things, and there are a bunch of deadlines. But because they are my best friends, I'm able to get extensions and things like that. So number one, be best friends with your financial aid office. Number two, um, check check on FAFSA as soon as you can. Get your taxes done as soon as you can, especially like if you're a work study student. You have to fill out a W-2, and you have to have that form to put it into the FAFSA. So get that as soon as possible. Don't sit on that. Don't be afraid to do it on TurboTax. I did it. I got back my money. I am claimed as where I claimed myself as independent, so I'm not a dependent. So I especially have to get my stuff done. And if you worked over the summer before and you had to fill out a W-2 form, get that done too. Get those two done, and make sure you get your parents get theirs done as soon as possible, so that you can get everything out with the FAFSA. Um, Obviously, be honest. Don't put in false information on the FAFSA, but along those lines, be be super clear, and be super uh, meticulous about filling things in and making sure that you don't fill things in wrong. And I guess those be best friends with your financial aid office. Make sure that you get your W-2 forms done immediately, and just check on FAFSA every single day and other financial aid things you have to do.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Khalil. So again, I know you have to go, so we are gonna let you peace out. But thank you so much for being a part of this. We really appreciate it. I'm sure all of those watching really learned a ton from you. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you guys. So thanks so much, guys, for this. Bye bye.
No problem. Alrighty. So even though Khalil had to leave a little bit early, we are still going to continue with the Google Hangout. But definitely to sort of go back to what he was saying, definitely build a relationship with the folks in the financial aid office. Even if you're not in college yet, as a high school student, you definitely want to call and check up and make sure that certain documents have been received, and just make sure that all of your information is there. So call, and if you see get names of people. So once you actually do get on campus, oh, I remember Miss So and I chatted with her as a high school senior. Again, build relationships with these people. It just makes the process a little bit easier. And also, as Khalil said, don't lie on your financial aid form, because that is a federal offense and you're not supposed to do that. But we are going to move along with our questions. So Alex, so say if I'm a senior and I've completed the financial aid forms, I'm done everything that I need to do, what am I supposed to do next? Like, do I just automatically get money out of the sky? Do I have to wait for some information? What are sort of the next steps after all of these forms are filled out and completed?
Yeah, well, okay. Sorry, I think I was on mute for a second there. Unfortunately, it's not going to come from this guy, but that would be cool. What's going to happen is if you filled it out online, which
that would be amazing.
Definitely encourage students to fill out online if that's a possibility. So if you do it there, you wait a couple weeks, and you will get your what's known as a SAR, which stands for Student Aid Report. You'll get that back, and it'll again come online. So you'll get that back electronically, and it'll give you an idea of what your EFC is, more acronyms. So it'll give you an idea of that number of how much your family will need to contribute. But what you won't get is the federal government isn't going to give you, your award package. That's going to come directly from your school. So most schools do that online now too. So you want to check for that information there. Kind of up to them how they do it. It might be through email. It might be through some kind of login system on their end. But you'll get your financial aid package from any school you apply for financial aid from. So yeah, that it should come, not too much after, but you will have to wait a couple weeks, maybe a month or two, to get that information. And if you did fill out, through written form, you'll probably receive your information through the mail. You won't get that online, unfortunately. So if you So again, if you filled out electronically, you'll get your SAR back electronically. If you filled out on paper, you'll get it back in the mail. And then you're going to want to look out for your financial aid award package directly from your school.
Awesome. So I actually have one question, and it stemmed from something you said, and this will be the last question before we go to the Q&A. But you mentioned paper form. So what if a student doesn't have access, as you mentioned, to the FAFSA online, or being able to complete the form online, and the student has to do the paper form? Where exactly would they go to get this information?
Yeah, you're going to go to the same place. So if you don't have any access to the internet whatsoever and you can't request on there, I would recommend going to your high school guidance counselor and asking them for a paper form. That's probably your best bet. There's also what's called College Goal Sunday events. They usually happen in February around the country. So you can, again, if you don't have any internet access, ask your guidance counselor if something like that is happening at your school or at a nearby school. Because those are really great. Those are financial aid experts who are in person. They'll sit down with you. They'll help you fill out the form, whether it's online or on paper. They'll kind of answer all your questions. So you can get, and they'll probably have some paper forms there for you if you need to go there. But yeah, you can also, if you only have access to a computer for a little bit, you can print the form offline and fill it out that way and mail it back in. So those are a couple ways you can get it.
Awesome. And one other location, I haven't seen these in there for a while, but you may also try your local library. I know when I was in school, I'm in high school, I remember them having all of the financial aid forms laid out across the counter. I didn't know what it was, but I remember seeing them and knowing, oh, those are forms of money, but didn't really understand financial aid. So definitely, again, if you don't have access to the internet, and you can't print out anything, you actually need the physical form. As Alex mentioned, College Bowl Sundays, they host events every February, and they have the forms in person, but you can also try your local library, try your counselors and guidance counselors at your school. They should have these paper forms for you. So there's no excuse. You can fill it out. There's no excuse. There is a way to make it happen. So those are all of the questions that we have listed. Now we have a few questions before we end the hangout from our Q&A. So the first question is, what's a fee waiver and how do I get one?
Yeah, real quickly, let me also say, if you don't have internet access, you can call 1-800-4-FED-AID. So that's a phone number you can just call and request a form, talk to anyone you need to about financial aid. And to get your question, fee waiver, I think you heard Khalil talk about those earlier. They're amazing if you can get them. They will, they'll waive it's exactly what they say. They'll waive the fee for applying for college, because college application fees can cost anywhere from, free to $100. So fee waivers can be really important for students. If they don't have a lot of disposable income and they do want to apply to several schools. So you can, again, apply online for those, or, talk to counselors who can help you get them. That's your best bet, really. Kind of a theme here, right? Talk to your counselor, bring them coffee, like Khalil said, be their best friend. They're going to help you with everything. But yeah, you can apply for them online. You will have to provide some income information again, because they're for students who can't afford, for whatever reason, to send those applications.
Awesome, thanks. Next question is, how do I know which school to send my FAFSA to?
Yeah, the FAFSA will ask, you can send up to 10 schools if you do it online. I believe on paper you can only send to 4. But if you do it online, you can send up to 10 schools. So you should send it to every school that you're anticipating wanting financial aid from. So if whatever school you're considering, they're all going to cost money. So you should go ahead and put them all on there. And that way they'll get your EFC and all that good stuff we've been talking about and send you back that financial aid package award.
Awesome. Yeah. And as you do the form, there is a drop down, and it lets you select sort of, I think it lets you select the state, and then from the state it filters to all of the different colleges and universities there. So you don't have to go searching for some crazy number. It's all right there for you. It makes the process super, super easy.
Yeah, if you have the number, you can put it right in. Otherwise, like you're saying, there's a search function that's really easy.
Awesome. Great. So next question is, do I have to pay for the FAFSA?
No, 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 no. Please don't pay for the FAFSA. Please, please, please don't pay for the FAFSA. Unfortunately, there are websites out there that try and make money off students. So when you're Googling FAFSA, be very careful. Make sure you're on the federal government's website. If it asks you for money, you're on the wrong site. Get off immediately, jump ship, redo your Google search, go to a college goal Sunday event, ask your parent or your friend, but yeah, just make sure you're on the federal government's website and that you're putting in your PIN and that you're not paying a dime. So it's free. First F in FAFSA stands for free.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, do not pay to fill out that form. If you have to pay, if it prompts you to pay, like she said, run away, because that's not the legit site. So yeah, remember, free. FAFSA is free. Don't pay. Awesome. So the last question that we received is, how would I know if I'm an independent student?
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, if your parents are helping you out financially still, you're probably not an independent student. But again, this is kind of something, it's pretty unique and it can get a little bit technical. So it's something you're going to want to look up online. You can go to NerdScholar, and we have some different articles, and our FAFSA tool will help you understand if you're independent or not. You can talk to someone about it, but generally, if you're a student who's gone from 17 years old and you're going into college, most likely you're still a dependent student. A lot of times where we'll see independent students is students who are a little bit older, maybe not traditional college age, someone around 26 or 30 or something who decide to go back to school. They're often independent students because they're on their own, they're making their own money, they're supporting themselves. And occasionally there is, an 18-year-old out there who is completely on their own. So if that sounds like you, go ahead and Google that and you can kind of see there. And if you're pretty positive, I would go talk to someone because the FAFSA is going to look different for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And to speak to that, I was one of the few students that was able to sort of claim independent. So my process was a little bit different. So again, like Alex said, you kind of gotta contact your schools to see, hey, this is my situation. A lot of times they'll have separate forms for you to fill out, having to explain your circumstances and providing documentation as well. So I know a lot of students may say, oh, I don't talk to my mom and dad, we're not on good terms, am I independent? As much as you may want to be independent, that won't suffice. Just because you're not talking to your mom or your dad or your guardian, that doesn't mean that they don't have to provide their financial information for your FAFSA. So there are certain situations where being an independent student is doable, or it relates or it applies to you. But again, that's kind of few and far in between. So always be sure to contact the individual colleges and universities that you're planning to apply to, and seeing if there are any separate forms that you'll have to fill out. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to fill it out, and you're also going to have to prove it. Have to have a lot of documentation, whether it's court documentation or whatever the case may be. So that's sort of an extra step that you'll have to take, but be prepared to do that. Alrighty. Well, I think that is all. Those are all of the questions that we received for the Q&A. For those watching and for those who still sticking with us, thank you so much. I hope you learned a lot. I know we chatted about a lot, but the financial aid process is really big. It takes a lot of information. It takes a lot of reading and understanding, but we hope that we provide you with enough information where you can kickstart the process as stress-free as possible. To thank Alex for coming on and offering all of her expertise. I'm just going to do a little plug for her, and she can do her own plug. But if you have any questions about the financial aid process, definitely go to NerdScholar. They have a ton of information. They have cool infographics and cool articles that you can check out to learn more about the financial aid process. I don't know if you wanted to plug some more about NerdScholar.
Yeah. Well, first I want to say, like, congrats to all you students out there who are here on this chat. That's so cool that you're smart enough to come and learn about financial aid. So, big pat on the back for you. And like Chelsea said, definitely check us out. You know, we're a free website. We don't require you to submit any information. We just offer advice, and our FAFSA tool is a great resource. It'll walk you through the steps. If you have that kind of non-traditional family background, you can put in, check the box for what's going on, and it'll help you fill the form out to get the most money. So yeah, definitely encourage you to go on there and, like we've been saying throughout the chat, Google everything, and then double check your answers with your high school guidance counselors and your financial aid officers at colleges.
Absolutely. So once I'm going to put up a sort of a recap of this video, and I'll be sure to include NerdScholar's link, but also a lot of the sort of acronyms that we talked about, so you'll understand what all of that meant. Also, just a quick plug first to view the recap of this Hangout along with other Hangouts that we did in the past. I definitely encourage you to sign up for imfirst.org as a student. You can come on our website, learn about financial aid and a ton of different things that we do for first-gen students. So again, thank you so much for taking your time this evening and hanging out with us and chatting with us and learning about all of these crazy financial aid things. We hope that this has been really, really informative and helpful for you. I want to again thank Alex for coming on and giving all of this wonderful information. Also want to thank the First blogger and scholarship winner Khalil, who had to leave a little bit early. Just really appreciate him hopping on and sharing his personal experiences as being first gen and filling out the financial aid form. So that is it for us for the evening. You guys have a great night, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.